Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, was released over the holiday weekend, and I went to the theater to go see it, so let's review. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is a prequel that serves as the origin story of the second best character from the last film, Furiosa, in which we follow her character from childhood to a teenager and I guess adulthood. But we see how she went from being in the green place to how she got kidnapped away from there, and how she grows in the ranks to being the right-hand woman to Immortal Joe in the Citadel. And she goes on this revenge path against Dementis, who killed her mother. Now, if you've seen my reviews of the Mad Max franchise over the past couple of weeks, or past 2 months, I should say, because I've been watching at least 2 every month for the past 2 months. But my personal history is I only saw this franchise for the first time 9 years ago when I marathoned all of them leading up to Fury Road. And you might have seen me post my rating of each film on Instagram or on my other socials. And I also posted some general thoughts on each film. And if you have, you know how I feel about all of them. The first one I thought was a pretty solid independent film. The second one, everyone agrees, is the best of the original trilogy. Personally, I'm not too over the moon about it, but I do respect it. The third one, I definitely agree, is a bit of a step down from the first 2 films, but Tina Turner, rest in peace, is awesome in it. Fury Road, at least in my opinion, and so many others, is the best of the franchise. George Miller, he directed all 4 films, and to me, this is basically Roadrunner, but elevated with modern technology. This is George Miller's, at least in my opinion, his true vision of what he intended for the world of Mad Max. And I do remember it was one of my favorite movies of 2015, so this movie is relatively still fresh in my mind, and even after rewatching it, I just appreciate it more, not just on an action level, but on a story level. Like, George Miller, he really did something unique with this film right here. And this is how I rank the Mad Max films prior to seeing Furiosa. Stay tuned to the end of the video to see where Furiosa ends up on this ranking. And so when I found out about Furiosa, I was happy, but at the same time curious, because I wasn't sure if George Miller could recapture what he did with Fury Road, especially 9 years after that film. And so now I am here to report that I liked it, but didn't love it. Now, it might take a while for this movie to really grow on me, and after multiple rewatches like I did for Fury Road back when it first came out, it took multiple watches for me to really appreciate that film for what it is and what George Miller tried to do. And that might be the case here, but as for right now, I just feel like this movie just wasn't as good as Fury Road, and part of it is because I just feel like Fury Road just didn't have the sense of urgency that Fury Road had. Like, when you, from the moment Fury Road started, it is like this. It is like this. When it starts, you're just in it. You better get on this train or it is going to leave you. And I never had that feeling going into Fury Road. In fact, I never really had that feeling until almost halfway through the movie. That being said, I still think this is still a good movie, and George Miller, he continues to prove while he is up there with Martin Scorsese as just one of these senior citizen filmmakers that's still standing on business and showing Hollywood how it's done. And George Miller, he really did create an origin story for Furiosa, and you do get behind why Furiosa is the way she is and how we get to where she is in Fury Road. She was taken at a young age. She had her whole life and everything ripped away from her, and she really does change from one thing to another, and it did it seamlessly. Another reason why this movie probably did feel slow is because of the over 2-hour runtime. And I'm sorry to keep going back to Fury Road, but I just feel like Fury Road is just a better film because how it accomplished so much in a 2-hour runtime. Plus, Furiosa is just broken into 5 different chapters, which I thought did help the film, but at the same time, it just made the film feel a little episodic. I did like the action in the movie. I especially love how they went parasailing on motorcycles. That just looks dangerous, but fucking awesome. But another reason why I feel this movie is a step down from Fury Road is because Fury Road had almost next to no CGI effects. Everything in that film was just practical. Whereas with here, I feel like there was more of a mix between practical and CGI. Now, granted, George Miller, with the technology we have today, is able to do what he can accomplish with those films, but at the same time, the reason Fury Road and even the films before it just felt so unique is because his emphasis on practical effects. Those are actual people doing dangerous stunts. Those are actual cars. And you still get that here, but at the same time, for some of the more fantastical or just ridiculous moments, that's where they brought in CGI. As for the cast, While nothing is ever going to make me forget Charlize Theron as Furiosa, I thought Anya Taylor-Joy did an excellent job at filling in Charlize Theron's shoes and bringing this character to life, but in an earlier fashion. But more than half the movie is dedicated to the younger version of Furiosa. And you may have heard some headlines saying that Anya Taylor-Joy doesn't have but so many lines in this movie, and that is true. But at the same time, I feel like they were trying to do with Furiosa what they did with Mad Max in the other movies, where he's the main character, but he's not the protagonist. And I'll get more into that in a bit. But you know how in the sequels to the original, Mad Max is just a character just passing by and helping people in different towns or whatever. That's what it feels like here. Like Furiosa, we don't get that with her, but at the same time, it feels like she's just a character just passing by. And then the moment the story ends, she jumps off. But the standout in here for sure to me is Chris Hemsworth as Dementis. And it makes sense for him to be in this movie because he is originally from Australia, and these movies mainly take place in Australia. So yeah, he should be here, and he looked like he was just having a ball. He was having a good time. He clearly understood the assignment. He clearly immersed himself into the world of Mad Max. And to me, I don't know what's going to happen with Thor, but in terms of Chris Hemsworth, he has redeemed himself from Thor Love and Thunder. To me, this is one of, if not my favorite performance by him. And after letting this movie marinate on him, I do like his journey in the movie because he's a piece of shit to begin with, but he does have pure intentions when he kidnaps Furiosa as a little girl. But then once she is taken away from him, it's like that last shred of humanity is taken away from him and he just goes full mad. There's even a couple of callbacks to Fury Road within this film, and not just with Immortan Joe in the Citadel, though we do get Immortan Joe back, but not played by the same actor because the original actor of Immortan Joe sadly passed away. But for the moments that we see Immortan Joe in this film, he is excellent, and we even get more of the Roar Dogs, his little henchmen. And I do appreciate that George Miller, with this film, was trying to bring more context to the world of the Wasteland, because we see the Citadel, but then we also get Gas Town, the Oil Town, the Water Town, you name it. He uses this film to realize this world, while also giving us some more context to Furiosa. In the end, I really did enjoy this film, but it's just not as good as Fury Road to me, which in my opinion is the best of the franchise. But I will say this, it might just be my second favorite. And I feel about the Mad Max franchise the same way I feel about Evil Dead, because with Evil Dead, I just like the newer movies more than I like the older movies with Ash. And that's how I feel with Mad Max. I just prefer the newer movies more than I like the older movies. I try not to have recency bias with franchises, but in the case of Mad Max and even Evil Dead, I kind of do. And it's mainly because I didn't grow up with those two franchises like many others did. So I'm just taking in those franchises as I am right now in this point in my life. But Furiosa, I still say, is a fun little watch. I recommend you go to the theater to go see it, but if not, it's not really the end of the world if you don't go to the theater to go see it. I'm gonna give Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, the thumbs up emoji. And now here is my official ranking of the entire Mad Max franchise with Furiosa included.